Hello and a very warm welcome to the Daily Grind here on Latte Firm. It is Saturday, the 27th of September. That is the eve of the game that lies ahead tomorrow, the Super Sunday at St James's Park, Newcastle United hosting Arsenal. And I'm delighted to be joined by my good friend and loyal contributor of the Latte Firm. It's Kendall. How are you?
I'm very, very good, thank you. Yeah, I always love being on this show, and you know that I will always big up this channel like to the hill, even though obviously I'm not an Arsenal fan, as we know, but I literally still think it's one of the most easy watching, like just great, non rage baiting channels ever. So I enjoy watching it. I even listen after the game sometimes, you do your spaces and things like that, and it's always very level headed, which I like. You like let everyone have their debate, let everyone have their opinions. There's no silly, to get the views or the clicks. You just get them naturally. So yeah, I love this channel. So thank you for
Oh,
having me.
bless you. That's so sweet. Thank you so much for your kind words. And obviously, Kendall, if anybody doesn't know you, you are obviously doing lots of content creation. You're on the overlap, you're on the TV. Just can't get rid of you.
It'll be sick of me shortly.
But listen, it's really great to have you here. And just for anybody tuning in for the first time, we are going to talk about the summer that you guys have had, the faith that you guys have in Eddie Howe, because obviously he's been a fantastic manager for you guys. I do want to get your thoughts on Arsenal because there is a bit of needle between the two teams. I want to get your thoughts on the gaffer, our gaffer, and what you think of our title chances. Then, of course, we'll look ahead at the game. We'll look at your sort of recent form and your start to the Premier League. So, quick morning to everybody watching in the chat. Please do drop a like in the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you enjoy the content, please do, of course, keep the chat active as well. Good to see so many familiar faces. I guess I've got to rip the plaster off, and we've got to go first on just the summer that you guys have had. And I'm really sorry to do this, but obviously it brings tears to my eyes as well. Let's talk about what's happened. Obviously, Newcastle United were in the market for Hugo Ekitike. There was a lot of talk about Alex Isak leaving. I mean, actually, we were linked with him about a year ago, but he's ended up going to Liverpool after the most longest saga. How do you feel about it? What's the fan base's take on all of this stuff that's happened over the summer?
Yeah, I think probably mostly just bitter disappointment because we just didn't expect it to play out the way that it has. Obviously, look, we're not naive. I think most of the fan base anyway isn't naive. We know that football's a business, players move on. It's a weekly occurrence at this point, even out of season, out of transfer window now. If there's players signing for teams in 2027 and things like that. So we're not naive to the fact, but it was just the way it was handled, I think, from him and from his camp. So obviously dragging it out, not turning up to pre-season, not turning up to games or training, like kind of going on strike, if you will. I just think the way that he handled it, still to this day, never put in a transfer request because he didn't want to forego his loyalty bonus. I just think the way he handled it was just total lack of integrity, cowardly, not coming out to say anything prior, obviously the PFA awards. Didn't mention the fans, didn't mention anything really until he was basically forced to. I just think it was just a really sad reality. And I think the reality is, if he'd said at the end of the season, look, like I want to move. Like, thank you for the memories. I've loved my time at the club, and we've like made history, which we did that last season. I want to move on to a new challenge because I do think that I want to compete for more titles. I mean, we would have been devastated, but we would have been like, fine, like that's fine. You've come out and done it the correct way. But obviously, yeah, everything he did just from that point was wrong, and well, in my opinion, anyway, was wrong. And I think the way that the situation was handled was so poor, really.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can't sort of lie and say that we've never experienced this before as a fan base. Arsenal, we had periods where we sort of lost our best players to sometimes our biggest rivals, and it was
Yeah.
excruciatingly painful, Kendall. So we kind of feel that pain. Another question just on Alex Isak, because he's been such a great player for you in the 4 seasons. I think he was there. I know he had some injury challenges, but do you think the way that he's left undoes some of that good? Like, I can see you nodding. So, I mean, I take it you look at him and you look at him with a dislike now rather than a fondness.
Oh, totally. It just, for me, that I just absolutely do not respect him. Not even as a football player, because I do respect him as a football player, and I think he's a fantastic football player. As a person, just how he handled the whole situation. As I've said, I know it's a business, and I don't know him personally, obviously, to delve into his personality and things like that. But how he's handled this specific situation, and yeah, the legacy that he's left is basically non-existent at this point. Fortunately, Dan Burn got the traction at the time for his header in the final. I know people will look and say, well, Alex scored the winner. Technically, yes, he did, but I think that won't be remembered now. It'll be, a case of everyone remembers Dan Burn and pretty much the the little that Alexander Isak contributed will be kind of wiped. I mean, even our CEO, he left yesterday because we've due to his ill health, and we've obviously got a new CEO in, and Darren Eales, who's just left, he like posted a letter to say obviously thank you to the fans and things like that, and he mentioned all the good times and was like that Dan Burn header in the final, and then just didn't mention anything else. So obviously, as you can tell, the upset kind of goes right to the top at this point. So yeah, I think he's kind of left nothing behind, and he'll not be remembered with any sort of fondness, really.
Indeed. And of course, it did get a little bit worse because you were after Hugo Ekitike, who also moved to Anfield, Liverpool signing him before they actually got Isak. But you've got your man. We'll talk about your man shortly. Again, Hugo Ekitike, a little bit sort of salty about that. And I completely understand why you would be.
Yes, only because at the time, so we were after Ekitike for 2 years. People probably won't remember this, but 2 years ago, we were linked with him in January. So I believe that'll obviously be January 2023. And well, it was whenever we signed for PSG. So it was then. We were linked to him then. And obviously he was really like arrogant about the whole situation, and so was his agent. And then when the deal was off, by the end of it, he posted like a little Instagram story that said N, like no E, just started with NJOY, enjoy, because obviously he hadn't come to Newcastle, and that was like seen as a dig at us. I think it was in the end. So, and then when we were linked with him again, it was really confusing because Eddie Howe is very, very meticulous in who he signs at the club. Like, if I don't know if anyone's listened to Dan Burn's High Performance podcast, but he did say that even prior to joining the club himself, Eddie actually rang his family and friends to check what kind of person he was and things like that. So Eddie Howe is absolutely like so insistent on getting the right personalities at the club, and which I think he's done a great job of so far, until obviously Alex Isak came along, and obviously that's why the Tonali betting thing was very like a big shock, because we are known to do our background checks at this point. So when we were linked to them again, I was a little bit confused, because I was just like, it's not like a personality that I believe Eddie Howe would want at the club, although he is a good player. So yeah, I was a bit confused, and obviously I believe Liverpool probably thought that they weren't getting Isak, because at that point when they signed Ekitike, we were like saying it's categorically not happening, like unless you come back to us with like 150 million and we get 2 replacements, which we obviously got let down by Sesko at that point as well. It was just like a matter of time. So yeah, I'm not as bitter towards him, but I do think there's going to be trouble with them coexisting in a team together. I think the red card for him at the weekend, midweek, was kind of a sign of that, because I do think he's got that little bit of, not necessarily arrogance. It isn't arrogance, but obviously sometimes it can be in a good way. So yeah, I do think that's probably it's a sign of the harmony that's not going to happen with them two at the club at the moment.
I'm with you, Kendall. I think these two are very interesting personalities, and what I've seen from Hugo, there is an air of arrogance, and there's an air of him believing that he's going to be the main man. So it'll be very interesting to see how it unfolds. But talking of Eddie Howe and the main man, he is of course your gaffer. Tell us about your thoughts on him very quickly, and just your summer in general, I guess. I mean, obviously that cup win last season, Dan Burn, such a wholesome story. Let's not talk about the other goal. But you know, first piece of silverware in more than 60 years. This guy is very much the guy that you guys believe in. What have you made of the summer? What do you make of the gaffer?
Yeah, I think aside from the Isak saga, I believe this summer's actually been fantastic for us. Like, genuinely, we've addressed a lot of areas that previously we wouldn't have. So I think Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa was an absolutely, yes, we paid quite a chunk of money for him, but I think the signing in general is going to be a very underrated one. He's injured at the moment, which is obviously not good, but I do think he's going to make a difference for us. Again, we've signed 2 forwards to replace, I know Wilson's left as well, but to replace kind of the quality that Alexander Isak had. I think Voltemade is a brilliant signing. I think Wiss is a brilliant signing. I know before anyone brings it up, I don't agree with how Wiss handled the situation this summer either, and I do believe that he should have gone training. Obviously, however, there is added context in the terms of Brentford said that they were understanding of his situation, and that was kind of on the onus on us to give them the money that they wanted at the time. He's obviously injured, so it doesn't help either. But yeah, I do think that we've addressed a lot of issues that we wouldn't have maybe addressed previously. So I think Alanga's a great signing, and I think Chow as well is a great signing. He's very comfortable on the ball when he's played too. So yeah, I'm happy with the summer. I feel like it would have been probably been a 9 out of 10 otherwise, aside from the Isak situation. So as a lone standing, yeah, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. And Eddie Howe just continues to impress me every week. I feel like tactically he's tweaked himself a little bit this season, and the team, we've been a little bit more reserved in some games compared to the intensity that everyone's used to seeing us play with. Obviously we've seen it in the big games like Barcelona and Liverpool. I expect to see it again on Sunday, another big game against Arsenal. But yeah, we've been a little bit more tactically reserved, so I'll be interested to see how Sunday goes, really. You're on mute, FK, now.
I was just sipping my coffee and I thought, I don't want to hear the slurp.
Yeah.
There's always, I've only been doing this 3 years. Before we look at the form guide and obviously close on sort of starting lineups and the match tomorrow, what are your expectations of Newcastle this season, Kendall? I mean, obviously you've lost your talisman. I know that's painful to hear, but you've brought in a new guy and you've done some really good summer acquisitions, as you just mentioned. But are you hopeful of a Champions League top 4? Is it about another cup? Back-to-back cups would be insane, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, that'd be like unprecedented in our lives. Like we, as I've said, like we obviously didn't win a domestic trophy for 70 years. So to do back-to-back seasons would be insane. And I'm not putting any pressure on them to do that at all. I do believe that we should be either trying to retain the Carabao Cup. There is a lot of big teams already out of that now, and we've got Tottenham next. So that's another chance to knock another big team out, if you will. I'll do that on this channel because and yeah, so I would be hoping that we went for like the FA Cup or something this time around. Obviously, we've seen Palace do it recently, so there's nothing stopping us from doing it. But yeah, I want us to get into the next, obviously, the knockout rounds of the Champions League, because I think with this league kind of version of the Champions League, I think it's harder to fail, to be quite honest with you. I would be hoping that we obviously beat, like that we won our home games. Obviously I know Barcelona's just passed, but I do think we gave a good account of ourselves either. So yeah, I think it'll be, hopefully for me, I think top 5 Champions League again, if we get obviously an extra place again in the league, and a really, really good cup run, if not another cup. Not that I'm putting any pressure on us to do that. And yeah, get out into the knockouts of the Champions League, I think.
Ranted Pumpkin has a question for you. He says, Kendall, what are your thoughts on Tindall? How important is he for Howe and for Newcastle?
I know everyone sees him as the pantomime villain, like the one that he's annoying on the touchline. He does all the the dirty work, which Eddie Howe said himself he wouldn't be able to do his job if Jason wasn't there, because Jason does all the things that Eddie doesn't want to do so that he can focus on the game and on the tactics. So obviously Jason will go and moan to the fourth official, or he'll do the theatrics on the sideline, and he's just become a character, and he's leaned into that. And he, by all accounts, Charlie Austin was just on a podcast recently, and he said like he loves the guy, like he's a great guy in general. So yeah, I think it kind of works like good cop, bad cop with them both, and they've become a partnership. And I really don't think that Eddie would be able to do the job that he does without Jason. So, and I don't know if anyone knows this, obviously you probably won't care because it's not your club, but to know this, but yeah, Jason's very, very involved with the defense in our team, because obviously he was a defender as well when he played, and we've defensively been brilliant since Eddie Howe's come in. So yeah, that's big props to Jason. And yeah, I think I don't want him to leave anytime soon. I love him as a character. I think he's great. He's perfect for Newcastle because it's just that kind of fan base who'll feed into that. So yeah, he's brilliant.
I gotta say, he's box office when you're watching him on the touchline. I mean, the animation sometimes it's a little bit cringy, but I guess obviously that's as an outsider looking in.
I can see why other teams don't like it.
Exactly,
it annoys them. But yeah, he's just become like that enigma on the sideline, and it's funny now, and we laugh. Jason Mad Dog Tindall, he gets called now. So yeah,
exactly. I want to get your thoughts on Arsenal before we look at the game. Obviously, there's a bit of a spice in this fixture, a bit of needle. Obviously it's been sort of heating up, ramping up. You guys have had some really good fortune. I think 3 of the last 4 you've won in the league, and obviously we had that 1-0 victory at the Emirates last season. But when you see Arsenal as an outsider looking in, obviously the gaffer looking happy there, his 6th season, the transfer activity that we've done, the contract renewals that we've done, 8 new signings this summer, Kendall, for Arsenal. A, were you expecting that? And B, what do you think Arsenal can achieve this season?
Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting the business. I think you've done fantastic business. I think some of them, even like underrated ones like Mascara, for example, who probably not a lot of people would have heard of, or if you don't watch the league on a regular basis or anything like that, kind of under the radar signing. But I think he's looked very strong when he's come into the team as well.
And you'd know because you're a big fan of Spanish football, right?
Yes, exactly. So obviously, and my guy at the top there, Andrea, but I know him very, very well because obviously he left Atletico Madrid to come to Arsenal. So yeah, I know Berta very well as well. There will be like a couple of ups and downs where you think, what is he actually doing? But he'll do decent business for you. He did with Atleti as well. So obviously, João Felix aside. But other than that, he did very good business there, and he is good at that and doing it on his terms. So he is good at that, which you probably did see in the summer as well. Obviously, you guys being in kind of the driving seat for that.
Can I just ask you a question, Kendall? Sorry to interrupt, but from obviously you're a big fan of Atletico and you do so much coverage of them. Did he ever fall out with Simeone? And on what sort of things? Was it always about transfers, or did you know about him as being a sort of disruptive or a catalyst in the sort of boardroom?
So I think there was a couple of teething issues, especially with the Felix signing specifically because it wasn't a Diego Simeone signing at all. If anyone knows Diego Simeone, he loves his Argentines, he loves his like South American signings specifically, or like obviously the people that he knows well, so like Griezmann coming back to the club and things like that. He's very much like that. It's like a family club community feel. Got a guest just saying hi now. So there was a few teething issues obviously when Berta wanted things on his terms. As I've said, I think we were going to sign someone, and now I can't physically remember who it was. It's like a well-known player, but he went to his house and the player was in shorts when he answered the door to Andrea Berta, and Berta was like, yeah, we're not signing, that's it. Like, I don't agree with how he's dressed. Like it should be treated as an interview situation. So obviously there was a couple of issues there, but yeah, otherwise it kind of went okay. But the board at Atleti they're like, I can't really describe it to anyone else in the Premier League because they're just very specific in how they approach business and how they spend money. This summer was kind of unprecedented, to be fair, because they don't really normally spend that much on that much business. So that was kind of unprecedented. But yeah, other than that, I feel like he'll be okay at Arsenal. I think the Premier League's a different kettle of fish to the league anyway, obviously with the caps and things like that. So yeah, I think he'll work well at Arsenal. But I think the business that he's done has been really, really good since he's come in, really.
Well, look, as a first summer transfer window and his sort of probation period, if you like, he's been unbelievable. Like from where we were, Kendall, and the journey that we've been on as a club to, the stadium years and losing our best players to transitioning under Emery and the challenges that Arteta's had, he's come in and just completely given us the rocket boost that we've needed, and the new players, the contract signings. I mean, Arteta's got everything he needs. Do you think we can win the league title this season?
I think you can. Can and will is two different things. I do think that you can win. I think there's a possibility because I think your team's good enough. I think obviously the league is kind of you and Liverpool at this point, and it has been that way. City haven't maybe started the way that they wanted to necessarily. Obviously they'd want to come out the blocks and do what they do in that way. But yeah, I feel like you can. But obviously Liverpool are already starting to pull away, which is that's the nightmare. That you don't want that so early. I know it's only the gap's very reachable at this point, but obviously you don't want that them to pull away immediately, which is the nightmare. They've been lucky, man. Don't get us wrong. They really, really have been very lucky with their late goals, like against us. Obviously,
but they might get better, and that's the problem. They might get better
when they start obviously clicking. When Ekatike and Isak situation sorted, and things like that. Who knows what happens? But yeah, that's the problem. But I do think you can. It's just as I say, can and will is two different things.
Well, let's wait and see. Let's focus on the game and get onto the home straight of the show. So look, recent form guide. You've had a mixed start to the season. Obviously, currently lying in 13th in the Premier League. You've played 5, you've won 1, you've drawn 3, having kept 4 clean sheets, and of course you lost to Liverpool, as you can see on screen. The form guide, courtesy of BBC. So losing that game to Liverpool, that last gasp winner from young Rio. Then of course getting a draw away at Elland Road. I know, frustrating, right? You beat Wolves at home. Everyone seems to be beating beating Wolves these days. Are very unlucky, I thought, against Barcelona. I mean, look, the Rashford goal, fantastic, but came back in that sadly not enough. And then, of course, a clean sheet down on the South Coast against Bournemouth. What's your thoughts going into the game? Are you excited? Are you favourites? Are the underdogs? What's your mood?
I am excited because I like these games. Like, obviously, I don't care what anyone says. And obviously, we like the big games when we play, obviously, the major teams where we've had history in terms of fixtures. Like when we play Liverpool, that's always like a feisty fixture, always has been, and there's always been a couple of goals in that fixture. Similarly to Arsenal, obviously, there's a little bit, maybe not history, but in terms of the last few years, recent history, there definitely has been since obviously the All or Nothing documentary when we stopped getting Champions League that year. So I think since then there's obviously been a few incidents, the ball out of play thing, and semi-finals last season for the Carabao Cup, and there's been a lot of a lot of little historic things with us in the recent times anyway. So I love this fixture. Well, I don't love it in terms of my stress levels, but I do enjoy it as like a just a football fan, just the big occasions. We really need to pick up points now, especially at home, because our start hasn't been the best. Although we haven't played badly necessarily, it's just obviously been the first couple of games we were without a striker, and Gordon was playing there. So, we had a Sula, but not a kind of a quality striker, if you will.
Proper.
No disrespect to him at all, because he always puts in the graft. But so I feel like we played well against Barcelona. I feel like we played well against Liverpool. To get a point away at Bournemouth was quite good for us, because we historically, especially under Eddie Howe, play very badly there. So that was fine.
And they're a good team.
They are a good team, and we just need to click. It's just the goals that need to click for us, and once that happens, I feel like we'll be absolutely fine. We've been defensively great again this season. Obviously, the only 3 teams that have actually gotten past us this season are Liverpool, Barcelona, and Bradford. So, we've been really good defensively as well, but we just need the goals to start clicking. And then it might be a different story. I don't know.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not expecting too many goals tomorrow. I think Asheen's just said Newcastle have the lowest expected goals against or conceded in the Premier League this season. Of course, we've got a tremendous defensive record. You can see our form coming into it. Drop points, it felt like, against Man City, but really good against Athletic Club Bilbao. Forest, obviously, extraordinary free kick at Anfield that saw us lose the points there, and then a 5-0 win over Leeds. As I bring up the team news, what are you sort of expecting from your side? This was the last lineup that you said about the performance down at the South Coast. I'll sort of talk about Arsenal stuff in a second, but rumours that Fabian Schär isn't yet obviously available. I think it's too soon tomorrow.
No,
is that right?
He's out with concussion. It was for 12 days, so he won't be back tomorrow.
Okay. So are you expecting any changes from that 11?
This is a thing. I am very much expecting changes in that 11, and however, I genuinely don't know what Eddie Howe's going to do on Sunday, because Gordon's back, obviously, from his suspension. On Sunday, this will be your first league game back from that suspension. Obviously, with Schär being out, we've played Botman and Xiao at the back together. However, I really don't think Byrne deserves to be dropped if it's a back 4, because he's always, again, he puts in a shift for us, and he's very actually rarely stepped a foot wrong. I know he's not the most glamorous footballer ever, and he's not a big name necessarily, but to us, he's absolutely vital. So I don't know if he's going to go to a back 4 tomorrow. I really hate playing with a back 3. I don't think it suits us whatsoever. We're pretty used to playing 4-3-3 at this point, so that suits us. I'll be very interested to see how the team looks, because he could go with Elanga, Gordon, and Voltemada up front. He could go with Murphy, Barnes, and Voltemada up front.
I think he'll definitely go. He'll definitely go
Barnes
Elanga.
And Gordon up front.
It'll be Elanga, Voltemada, and Gordon, surely.
Yeah, well, I would hope that's the strongest front 3, I think, out of the selection. So I would hope that is it. And obviously, the midfield at this point is kind of a shoe, and that very rarely gets changed. It'll be Tonali, Bruno, and Joe Linton. So that'll be the typical. But I'll be interested. It's the back line tomorrow. I think that'll it is tomorrow, Saturday. Tomorrow, that'll be very, very interesting to see what he does with that.
The midfield lineup that you just mentioned, that trio, Tonali's obviously a fine footballer. Joel Linton seems to rise to the games against Arsenal. Obviously, we know he's a physical brute, but he's obviously a footballer as well. And then, of course, Bruno Guimaraes, who is just a fabulous footballer, someone that I would have loved at Arsenal, but he's a proper Newcastle lad now, and he loves this fixture. I mean, from outside,
mad.
I know it's mad, isn't it?
It's mad how much he's fed into the club, like just in general, because as we mentioned, just in the show alone, obviously with Isak, like there's players that obviously don't see loyalty and they don't have any integrity at the club. But Bruno genuinely is a player that absolutely loves Newcastle. Like, and you can't really ask for any more from a player. I mean, I'm not saying that he'll never leave and like he'll end his career here. Obviously, I don't think that is football's a short career, but yeah, he just really has fed into the culture of the club and the fan base. And yeah, you can't ask for any more from a player, really.
No, you can't. There's the lineup that Arsenal played against Manchester City at the Emirates Stadium last weekend. I'm expecting David Raya to keep goal. Jurien Timber, William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes, and Ricky Calafiori, the back four. This has been a talking point. You know, Zubimendi, Rice, I think are our two best midfielders. But you know, former Magpie, Mikel Merino, is the one. And lots of Arsenal fans are a bit annoyed by that because it's quite a flat midfield. We feel we need a creator. So the gaffer has talked about Odegaard being back in the squad. We've obviously got Eberechi Eze, and up front, no Madueke because he's injured for another sort of 6 weeks or so. So Saka will be back after his half last weekend. Victor Gyökeres has started up top, and I think it will be Eze on the left-hand side. When you look at the Arsenal lineup, it's a strong 11. What are you expecting in the game tomorrow, and where do you think our strengths and weaknesses are?
I genuinely think both teams are good defensively. In a general sense. So I feel like tomorrow could either go like it'll be like a 1-0 win either way, or just the most boring, like tactically nullified game ever. And like there'll just be like a couple of like fouls thrown here and there just to try and get the ball. But because obviously both teams are strong defensively, I feel like they'll just be like, oh, like was that it? I feel like genuinely that'll be the case tomorrow. I don't think there's going to be many goals in the game at all. I like Arsenal's team in general. As I said, I think that the business that he did in the summer was really, really good. I really, really, really like Zubimendi. I think he's just a really, really good footballer. And I really like watching him play as well. I don't know, obviously the whole Merino thing, I think he played against us last season, sorry. I'm sure he did, and he didn't have the best time. I feel like, yeah, I don't know if he'll will he start? I don't know if he will.
What, tomorrow? I think he will. I think Mikel Arteta is obsessed with safety, pragmatism, and sort of experience and wisdom. And he's one of the oldest players in the squad, if not the oldest. So I have a feeling he's going to go with Merino midfield, with Zubimendi and Rice. But I think he will go either Odegaard or Eze for Trossard, which will be interesting. But
I'm kind of not in terms of like I'm glad that he's injured or anything, but like I am glad for our behalf that Madueke won't be playing, because obviously I know there was a whole saga in the summer. I understand that the fan base obviously didn't want to sign him and things like that. But I really wanted him at Newcastle, like genuinely, I really, really did. And I think he's just like a breath of fresh air. Yeah, he might not always get the final ball, and yeah, he might not have registered a goal or assist, whatever, but the off the ball work that he does and the creativity that he brings, and just little bit of extra flair that he brings to a game, that unpredictability is sometimes what you need. And I just think he's done that so perfectly. So it's a real big shame for you and for him that he's injured now, because I feel like if he just continued on that little trajectory that he was on, I feel like he would have been like actually like quite a key piece, and just a little bit of it, as I say, that unpredictability to Arsenal that you may not have had in the past. So yeah, I really like Madueke, I really do.
Saka's not a bad replacement, to be fair.
Saka's not a bad replacement. No, he's not.
So give us a score prediction.
Saka's dad is a Newcastle fan. So
is that right?
That is very true.
No.
Yeah, Saka said in interviews a few times that like his dad used to make him wear like Newcastle shirts when he was little and stuff. So yeah, we've all had that little hope in the back of my head that like he'll end up in a Newcastle shirt.
Wow, this is wild. So just a very small thing, which I need to admit, I must admit, when I was a child, I must have been 5 years old. Apparently, I was obsessed with the local hero theme tune. And my father bought it. My father bought it from in a cassette, and it came with a Newcastle scarf.
Yeah.
And that was unashamedly up on our living room sort of wall for a few months. But luckily, I found the red side of London, and that was it. Rancid Pumpkin says Newcastle are the favourites, but we are obviously we need to win. I'm expecting a nail biter. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? What's the prediction?
Yeah, as I've said, I feel like it's going to be 1-0 either way. I have said 2-1 to Newcastle like the past few days. That was my hope anyway. But as I've said, because I've listened to Arsenal fans, I've, tactically in terms of the defense and things like that. I've looked, and yeah, I feel like it's probably going to be a like one of them, like, oh, like you just need to do that little bit more, and it'll be a 1-0 wins either way. So hopefully it's in our favour.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a tight game as well. And
Yeah.
As much as I love you, Kendall, and as much as I love you coming on the show, I hope we back you, but I don't think we will.
I wouldn't expect any less from you. I wouldn't expect any less from you, FK. It was disingenuous if you wanted to throw in.
Exactly. Well, listen, that's been great fun. Enjoy the weekend. There is a full schedule of Barclays action, ladies and gents, boys and girls. Thanks so much for watching. If anybody wants to follow Kendall, she's available on all social platforms, aren't you? What's your big thing at the moment? X, TikTok, Insta,
yeah,
the works.
Usually that's where I'm at. I'm trying to build my TikTok a little bit because I need to take that a little bit more seriously, because I don't do YouTube obviously on my own channel. So yeah, I need to take TikTok a little bit more seriously. But I feel like I'm only 30 and I feel so old when I go on that platform. It's like there's just like kids on there. So I'm just like,
to be 30 again.
Trying to build that up. But yeah, thank you as always for having me.
No problem at all. Enjoy the weekend. Hope you don't enjoy tomorrow too much. We'll of course chat soon. Ladies and gents, if you've enjoyed the content you're watching for the first time, please do of course subscribe to the firm. And thanks for watching. Enjoy the game. We will be back tomorrow with a match reaction video. So bye for now.